Tyrese Haliburton had quite a criminal performance against the Thunder in Game 5, entering the infamous history of the sport. After setting the standard so high with the game-stealing shot in Oklahoma in Game 1, all pressure is now on Haliburton's shoulders after the miserable Game 5 last night, in which he became the first player to not score a point from a field goal in NBA Finals since 1958. Can Haliburton bounce back in Game 6 now that he's injured? And more importantly, how is this affecting his potential legacy in Indiana? There is no tiptoeing around this very sensitive topic of conversation. Haliburton's Game 5 was definitely one to forget. You cannot have your superstar having 0 made field goals in 34 minutes played and expect to have a shot at the championship. Not only that, but Haliburton had the worst plus-minus on his team, just behind Obi Toppin at -16. And when you are injured and playing through pain like he did, the question is, should the coach do something in order to save the series? Stephen A. Smith has gone on to talk about the atrocious performance of Haliburton, as the analyst wasn't happy at all with the numbers that Tyrese put out there when it mattered the most. For matters to be more defeating for the Pacers superstar, he became the first player in NBA history to record a finals game with 0 made field goals, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 3+ turnovers, and 3+ fouls in over 30 minutes played. Even if you are a Pacers fan, you just cannot accept such performance. It's too much. He needs to be carrying the team up, not down, and in this situation, it looks like Haliburton is doing everything but playing proper basketball when it matters the most. Elaborating on this matter to a greater extent, Smith said,
"Something is wrong, definitely. You have to say that because there's no excuse for him not having a single field goal for the entire game. About 7 minutes left in the game, he had 2 points and about 4 assists or whatever. It was a horrific performance, but again, he's probably injured. He's probably hurt. He clearly is not 100% because we know that Haliburton can do more than he's done. Having said that..."
So while Haliburton did have a horrific performance when he was supposed to stuff the stat sheet, we need to acknowledge the real picture here. He is playing injured. That doesn't help his case at all, because we're in the finals and the extent of his injury cannot be processed properly because the team needs him now more than ever. But for him to not score a single field goal and to play the way he did, especially when TJ McConnell had the game of his career in the second half, it does bring a question mark over Rick Carlisle's decisions. Stephen A. Smith wasn't a fan of the fact that Haliburton spent so much time on the court while Rick Carlisle knew that he was risking his players' health to a greater extent. Not only that, but Smith feels like the presence of McConnell would have been enough to carry the team to a much better result, potentially even a game win. Explaining his take on this situation, Smith continued,
"An exceptional championship Hall of Fame caliber coach. We know that he could have made a different decision because the way TJ McConnell was playing in the third quarter, he kept them in this game. Guess what? With Haliburton hurt, I'm leaving TJ McConnell in the game. He wasn't just in there being aggressive, being assertive, playing downhill, but he was making shots, and I'm not taking him out of that game.
18 points.
The way that he looked, combined with the way Haliburton looked, I'm going to roll the dice knowing I got a Game 6. Okay, let me not put you out there."
Rick Carlisle has spoken about the stance in which Haliburton currently is, and as all things stand, the Pacers player is not in the best condition possible. But even with this in mind, he is highly unlikely to miss Game 6, one that could prove to be the last game in their postseason. As Carlisle elaborated, Haliburton is not at 100%, it's pretty clear, but I don't think he's going to miss the next game. We were concerned at halftime, and he insisted on playing. I thought he made a lot of really good things happen in the second half, but he is not 100%. There are a lot of guys in the series that aren't, so we can talk about his lack of efficiency, but we cannot undermine the determination that Haliburton has. He spoke about the injury and whether or not it's keeping him away from playing at an optimal level. To this, Tyrese had a very savage response as he went on to say, "I mean, it's the NBA Finals. It's the finals, man. I've worked my whole life to be here, and I want to be out there to compete. Help my teammates any way I can. I was not great tonight by any means, but it's not really a thought of mine to not play here. If I can walk, then I want to play. The team understands that, and it is what it is. Gotta be ready for Game 6. Now, the situation did get a little bit out of control with Stephen A. Smith talking about how he's glad that Tyrese is injured, even though we knew he didn't have a bad thought behind his words as he went on to correct himself immediately. Stephen A. Smith had quite a controversial statement when it comes to the injury report of Tyrese. Addressing this, Smith said,
"Haliburton has looked awful, and I'm glad he's injured. I'm not saying I'm glad he's injured, but I'm glad we got that as the rationale."
Bob Myers tried to bring Haliburton up a couple of moments later, and Smith was having none of it as he continued his slander on Tyrese. You want to be nice all the damn time. I am not trying to be mean or whatever, just being factual. He looks bad. He was not active. He was not aggressive. And now that we know he is not healthy, I totally agree with Big Perk. Sit him down. Get him ready for Game 6 because he is a minus 16 on the floor. He ain't helping the team. Again, it's not our intention to spread false news here. Smith said that he's glad Haliburton is injured because they can write the bad performance off the injury and not his mind not being present in the game. That is actually a very good point of view if you think about it, and whether we like it or not, Smith might be onto something here. How will the Pacers react in Game 6? That's up to us to wait and see, and up to them to manifest that they can take this Oklahoma team to a 7-game series. It's a proper way of how the finals should end, but with Haliburton's health now being under a big question mark, could we see Rick Carlisle making another mistake and forcing minutes off an injured player just because he requested it? And let's talk about the primary aspects that the Pacers need to address if they want to fight against the Thunder. I'll start with the monstrous game that was presented by Jalen Williams. He became one of the youngest players in the history of the sport to drop 40 points in an NBA Finals game, with the younger ones being Magic Johnson, Rick Barry, Jerry West, and Russell Westbrook. The fact that he did it in the same jersey as Russell speaks volumes about this achievement, and whether we like it or not, he's been the pivotal piece of the Thunder's monstrous game. Don't forget the turnovers. The Pacers had a total of 25 turnovers. Combine that with the miserable input that Haliburton had on the court, and you'll see the biggest flaw that the Pacers have right now: lack of consistency. If you want to be up there and steal the championship away from the Thunder, it's definitely coming at a proper cost of sacrificing everything you have out there. Haliburton himself raised the standards so high, and now he cannot get away with such poor games on his end. And pardon me for saying, but I think part of the blame goes to Carlisle as well. A player of Tyrese's caliber is never going to say that they want to sit down through the injury. It was Rick's decision to make. If he had chosen to rest Tyrese for the second half, not only would he have exploited the full potential of TJ McConnell, but he would have had a much better version of Haliburton in Game 6. With all this in mind, what do you think about the comments of Stephen A. Smith regarding Tyrese Haliburton's performance? And more importantly, do you think the Pacers superstar is going to bounce back in Game 6? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that appears on your screen right now.